In your mind, what does America's financial machine look like? Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange, those glass towers full of banks where people shout, buy and sell orders all day long. But while most Americans are still struggling with paychecks, credit card debt, mortgages, and car loans, in another world, inside the same country, a completely different financial era is running in the background. It's built on debt, real estate, and tiny lines in the tax code that most of us have never read. In this video, we'll reveal the hidden financial infrastructure of money and debt that sets the rules for who builds wealth and how. You'll see how asset owners use structures like rental real estate to turn debt into a source of freedom, and discover why some people escape taxes while others feel trapped. While regular employees feel stuck on a conveyor belt? Stay with me until the end, and you'll see why understanding one four-letter word, debt, can rewrite your entire financial life. For decades after World War II, the United States was the symbol of the middle-class dream. A stable job, a house in the suburbs, a car, some savings, and the belief that if you just worked hard, life would get better. However, as we stepped into the 21st century, that picture began to look less bright. Wages grew more slowly than home prices. Healthcare and education costs shot up. Student loans, credit card debt, and auto loans piled on. And every year, workers spend 3 to 4 months of their time working just to pay taxes. In that environment, a small group of people chose a different path. They realized that the modern monetary system can't exist without debt. Instead of fearing debt, they learned how to turn it into their own financial infrastructure, a network of properties, rental income, and long-term loans that helps them live well today and also pass wealth to the next generation. Right in the middle of a country where millions still live paycheck to paycheck, a mega project on a personal scale emerged, a debt and asset machine built on rental real estate. Imagine a very ordinary asset, a rental house worth about $500,000. This project has scale, just one house, but in a market where there's real demand for rentals. Capital, the owner puts in 20%, approximately $100,000. The rest is bank debt. Cash flow, after all expenses, the property generates a few $100s in cash flow each month. An invisible record. It's appreciating over time while also being depreciated on paper to lower the owner's taxes. Before structures like this existed in people's minds, most workers had only one real asset, their time and their labor. Every paycheck, they paid taxes first, spent what was left, and hoped that one day they'd save enough to retire. But with a rental house used the right way, a 30-year journey of working, paying taxes, and paying off debt can turn into a 30-year journey of building assets. A long-term loan is slowly paid down by the tenant, while the property's value and tax benefits flow to the owner. On paper, it sounds simple. Borrow money to buy a house, rent it out, and use the rent to pay the loan. But behind that is a financial infrastructure that's surprisingly sophisticated. First, you have to accept an uncomfortable truth. In today's system, money is born from debt. You deposit money into a bank, and the bank lends that money out to someone else at a higher interest rate. Your money is your asset, but at the same time, it's also part of the banking system's debt obligations. Smart real estate owners don't fight this system, they plug a straw into the right spot. They use long-term fixed-rate debt to buy assets with real demand. They make sure it's the tenant, not their salary, that's paying off the loan. They use depreciation and tax incentives to reduce their taxable income on paper. Instead of selling the house when it goes from $400,000 to $500,000 and paying capital gains tax, they refinance. The bank lends against the new value, and the old loan gets paid off. And the difference lands in their account as loan proceeds, not income, which means it's not taxed. With every cycle like that, they have more capital to buy another property, more cash flow, more depreciation, more chances to refinance again. But that's only half the picture. The other half is risk management. They don't borrow until they're choking. They keep their debt-to-equity ratio at a level that allows them to survive even if the market turns bad. They prefer fixed interest rates so they know exactly what they'll owe every month for the next 5 or 10 years. They keep a cash reserve, enough to get through vacancies, major repairs, or a crisis. Meanwhile, most regular workers use debt in the opposite direction. Credit cards at 20 to 25% interest to pay for dinners out, TVs, and vacations. Auto loans, floating rate consumer loans. They borrow for things that disappear in a few years, while asset owners borrow for things that last for decades and get paid off by someone else. From a purely economic standpoint, a small network of rental houses like this can create a stable cash flow for the owner, help them keep income that would have gone to taxes, and use that deferred tax money to buy more assets. From a social point of view, this owner-tenant model quietly redraws the map of wealth. Those who understand the rules early start accumulating houses and land, while others still believe the only way forward is to work extra hours and save every spare dollar. On a macro level, the US is the most indebted country in the world. Public debt, Social Security promises, healthcare, pensions. In an economy where even the government survives on debt, people who don't understand how inflation, interest rates, and taxes easily drain debt work. On the flip side, people who use long-term, low-interest debt to own assets and let inflation slowly eat away the real value of that debt. They are quietly using the system's own structure to protect and amplify their wealth. When stories started coming out about billionaires who take a $1 salary but live by borrowing against their stocks and real estate, many people in other countries simply couldn't believe it. Some asked, how can someone borrow hundreds of millions of dollars and not be taxed like a regular worker? On TV, financial experts had to explain over and over, loan proceeds are not income. Taxes apply to realized profits, not to debt. Even inside the US, people who follow the live debt-free philosophy look at this model with suspicion and fear. But the reality is, our current monetary system is built around debt. If you refuse to learn how it works, you're essentially agreeing to play a game whose rules you don't understand. From far away, a country's infrastructure looks like roads, bridges, ports, and factories. Look closer, and beneath the concrete and steel is an invisible infrastructure. How money is created, how debt is distributed, how the tax code rewards some behaviors and punishes others. At a personal level, a rental house on a city street looks like just another block of concrete. But for an owner who knows how to play the debt game, it's a test of how much risk they can handle and how well they can manage cash flow, a machine that prints post-tax income, and a mirror that shows how well they understand the system. There's no such thing as a completely safe loan, but there's also no truly sustainable financial freedom. If you rely on a single source of income and hope to stay completely debt-free, inside an economy that's literally built on debt. From student loans, credit cards, and home mortgages all the way to the 9-figure loans taken by property owners and billionaires, it all fits into one bigger picture. We're living in an economy where debt is the core financial infrastructure. So the question is no longer, is debt good or bad? The real question isn't just whether debt is good or bad, it's whether you're using debt to create genuine financial freedom or sacrificing your future for things with no lasting value. Or are you pledging your future freedom for things that disappear in a few years? What surprised you most in this story? The fact that money is created from debt? The speed at which a normal house can become a financial machine? Or the idea that misunderstanding a single word, debt, can send your whole life in the wrong direction? If you found this video helpful, drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep exploring in future episodes the invisible systems quietly steering the world's economy.